iPhone 17 Pro Max versus Samsung S25 Ultra, Clash of the Titans. Apple has finally changed the iPhone's design, and Samsung has reimagined its Ultra series too. But which one of these flagships actually come out on top? Let's break it down. When it comes to smartphones, Apple and Samsung are still the two giants shaping the entire industry. And this year, both companies dropped serious changes with their latest flagships, the iPhone 17 Pro Max and the Galaxy S25 Ultra. Now, on paper, both phones look like refinements rather than revolutions. But when you look closer, the details start to reveal where each company is putting its focus, and more importantly, where they might be pulling ahead. So let's dive into design, displays, cameras, battery life, and of course, pricing to figure out which device actually deserves your money in 2025. Design changes that matter. Let's start with the most visible difference, design. Apple has made a big move with the iPhone 17 Pro Max. The back design has been completely reworked, now featuring a raised camera housing on the backplate. At first glance, it looks stylish, maybe even more premium. But there is already a debate brewing. Does the new design actually invite dust buildup underneath the raised area? We'll only know for sure once people start using it daily, but it's definitely a concern worth noting. Samsung, meanwhile, has decided to freshen up things with the S25 Ultra. Gone are the sharp, squared-off corners from the S24 Ultra. This year, we are looking at rounded edges, not as soft as iPhone, but noticeably smoother compared to last year's Ultra. It makes the phone look a little bit more comfortable in the hand while still keeping that industrial Ultra look. Now, here's a detail worth mentioning. Apple increased the thickness of the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Last year's model sat at 8.22 millimeters, but this year it's up to 8.725 millimeters. The S25 Ultra, by comparison, holds steady at 8.2 millimeters. So yes, the iPhone is slightly chunkier, but there's a good reason behind this change, and we'll get to that when we talk about the battery. Display face-off. Both phones feature a massive 6.9-inch display. At first glance, you might not think much has changed, but let's break that down. Apple is rumored to be pushing peak brightness higher this year, going beyond the already impressive 2000 nits on iPhone 16 Pro Max. Meanwhile, Samsung continues to flex its insane 2600 nit display on the S25 Ultra. That's still the gold standard for outdoor visibility. Apple, however, is adding something Samsung introduced last year, a new protective glass with anti-reflective coating. This not only improves durability, but makes the screen easier to see under harsh lighting. Samsung already had this tech in the S24 Ultra, and of course, it carries over to the S25 Ultra. So, when it comes to raw brightness, Samsung still has the edge, but with Apple's improvements in reflection handling, the real-world viewing experience might be closer than ever. Camera showdown. Now, the most exciting part for many people, cameras. Apple's big move this year is going all in on the 48 megapixel sensor across the board. The main camera, the ultra-wide, and even the telephoto lens are all 48 megapixel. But telephoto setup might drop from last year's 5x optical zoom to 3.5x optical, but sources suggest that this could actually deliver sharper, more consistent results in everyday use. On the front, Apple is updating the selfie shooter to 24 megapixels, a welcome upgrade for all the FaceTime calls, selfies, and content creation people rely on. Samsung, on the other hand, is flexing big numbers once again. The S25 Ultra sports 4 rear cameras, a monstrous 200 megapixel main sensor, a 50 megapixel ultra-wide, plus 2 telephoto lenses, a 10 megapixel 3x, and a 50 megapixel 5x. This gives Samsung incredible versatility, especially for zoom photography. So, who wins? It comes down to optimization. Samsung leans heavily into high-resolution detail and versatility, while Apple continues to shine in video quality and consistency. Apple's also joining the 8K video recording party this year, something Samsung has offered for a while now. But when it comes down to stability, color grading, and cinematic video performance, iPhone still tends to lead the pack. Battery life and performance. Here's where that extra thickness on an iPhone comes into play. Apple has packed the biggest battery ever in an iPhone, 5,000 milliamp hours. That matches the capacity of the Galaxy S25 Ultra, which also comes at 5,000 milliamp hours. Now, raw numbers tell one story, but optimization tells another. Last year, the iPhone 16 Pro Max had just a 4,600 milliamp hour battery, and yet it still competed toe-to-toe with the 5,000 milliamp hour Android flagships, thanks to Apple's legendary power efficiency. So, with a bump to 5,000 this year, we could be looking at one of the best battery performers on the market. Of course, the S25 Ultra is no slouch either. Samsung's optimizations have gotten better, and early reports suggest that it's holding its own impressively during endurance tests. This could turn into one of the closest battery battles we've seen between these two brands. Price and deals. And now, the part that can make or break a purchase: pricing. The iPhone 17 Pro Max is expected to launch at $1299, which is the exact same price as the Galaxy S25 Ultra. That's premium territory, no doubt. But here's the kicker: Samsung is already rolling out discounts and pre-order deals. Depending on where you do your shopping, you can grab the S25 Ultra at a much lower effective price right now. And when you're spending this much, a few $100s can absolutely be the deciding factor. Apple, on the other hand, rarely discounts at launch. You're paying full price on day one, no exceptions. By the way, if you're enjoying this head-to-head breakdown, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the Tech Bowl for more epic comparisons and deep dives into the latest gadgets. It only takes a second, and it helps the channel grow so we can keep bringing you content like this. Alright, let's wrap this up. So, iPhone 17 Pro Max or Galaxy S25 Ultra? Apple fans are finally getting a refreshed design, bigger battery, and upgraded cameras across the board. The 17 Pro Max feels like the most complete iPhone we've seen in years. Samsung, on the other hand, continues to dominate on display brightness, camera versatility, and raw value, especially when you consider those pre-order deals and discounts. At the end of the day, it comes down to what you prioritize. If you want the best video recording experience, seamless ecosystem integration, and a device optimized for consistency, the iPhone is your winner. If you want more versatility, crazy zoom capabilities, and a better value for your money, the Galaxy S25 Ultra makes a strong case. So, which one are you leaning toward? iPhone 17 Pro Max or Galaxy S25 Ultra? Drop the thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your take. And if you enjoyed this comparison, don't forget to subscribe to the Tech Bowl and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our next deep dive. We've got more reviews, comparisons, and tech breakdowns coming your way. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.